You can go all in and you can really become solely focused on your business and just your wife and your kids and just build that. Because there has to be like this focus where your world gets smaller and you're focusing just on your body, your connection with yourself, your family, and your business. That's it. And even that's a fucking lot. But it also, there's gonna be seasons where like in the beginning where you're disconnected from your family, trying to build this thing, knowing that long term it's going to serve a much larger purpose and provide the life that you want for your family. Welcome back to the Be the Standard podcast. In the break in between talking about business and marketing, selling, and leadership, there's this other piece of why we do all those things and run our business. And it's because, it's because the wife in my life and the family that I have. Right down there is Enzo, and Luca's with my family. So this entire episode, I've had some questions that I wanted to ask Lizzy. If we were to rewind this right back to when you and I started dating in 2016, 6 months after we started dating, we moved in together.
Yeah.
And then 2 months after that, I decided to quit my job at Wazzy Digital, which was our corporate job where we met, and pursue real estate.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about, like, what were those first few years, the first like 2 or 3 years of me being in real estate? Like, what was that part of our relationship like for you?
Looking back, I think our relationship was so much different then compared to what it is now. Real estate was really hard because real estate happens on the weekends. And so that's like working a 9-to-5 corporate job. That's when I get my time off. And so I wanted to hang out with you and you're like, hey, well, I gotta work all day. So when the market was super hot, you had like a ton of clients and a ton of business, which was fantastic. But it was just really hard because I felt like we didn't really get to spend a lot of time together. And my love language is quality time. And so I think that was just really hard on our relationship.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Yeah, it was hard on a relationship. And for many of the guys and girls out there, the majority of their business happens on the weekend. And they are usually the breadwinners. And on top of that, their significant other most likely is a 9-to-5 type of person, which means there's that separation from one another, which can create disconnect, which is why I'm so adamant about date nights, because we didn't do date night. Not only was there disconnect, but talk to me, like, what was it like when every weekend you were just by yourself?
It was hard. I just felt really alone. Yeah, it was hard because I feel like it just led to us being disconnected when we couldn't get any time together. You know, after you'd have a day full of showings, then you'd be writing offers at night. Hi. And like calling your clients and calling the other real estate agents and all of that. And so it was hard because then we'd get back into the cycle. I'd go back to work on Monday through Friday. You'd be back in it Thursday through Sunday. So
even more than that, I mean, I was working 7 days a week for the first 3 years.
Oh yeah, definitely. There is no like off button when you're an entrepreneur, and especially when you were in real estate. Like you were working all of the time to try and get your business going, and then you got to a point where your business was doing so well that you just had so much volume and so many people that you wanted to take care of.
Yeah.
And so that just led to you being super busy and us kind of getting disconnected.
So the first year, there was really no money coming in, and we weren't spending any time together. What was that like for you? Like, you see me committed to the game, you see me doing all of this work, I'm constantly on my phone, I'm constantly talking about real estate, I'm doing open houses, I'm gone every single weekend doing showings, and yet there's no money coming in. And then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to this thing out in California and invest $5,000. Like, what was that experience like for you in the beginning when I was so committed and you were basically the side piece to my main relationship, and you didn't see any income coming in?
I think it was hard, but I also wanted to support you because once you go into something, you go into it fully.
But you didn't know that then.
But I supported you.
You did. First off, I'm not saying you didn't support me. Very supportive. And as any normal woman would, you kind of got fed up and you were like, hey, fuckface, I also want to spend time with you. And so that felt like that was magnified when there was no money coming in. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's hard when you're working so hard and you don't see like the benefits of why you're working so hard.
Yeah. I always tell the guys, like, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can go all in and you can really become solely focused on your business and just your wife and your kids and just build that, right? For the first 3 years. Because there has to be like this focus where your world gets smaller and you're focusing just on your body, your connection with yourself, your family, and your business. That's it. And even that's a fucking lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a lot.
But it also, there's going to be seasons where like in the beginning where you're disconnected from your family, trying to build this thing, knowing that long term it's going to serve a much larger purpose and provide the life that you want for your family. So I chose the route of like, hey, I'm going all in, and our relationship suffered. What would you recommend? Would you recommend that path, or would you have preferred that we did it the slow way and had slower success, maybe even not the same level of success?
I guess I'm just of the mindset that I don't want to regret, or I don't want to like regret anything from the past. And so like the past is the past and it is what it is. So I think we did it just how we could. But that also led to us getting into couples therapy and like us working on ourselves and our relationship together. So I feel like it was done exactly the way that it should have been. I don't think there was like really an alternative. But right now, I guess compared to this experience, where I feel like, yes, you're invested in the family and you're like slowly growing your business, or trying to, is just right for us. Like the way you built your real estate career then was right for us then, compared to what you're doing now with your coaching business.
Yeah. At the time, it caused a lot of disruption.
Yeah.
And without that, I don't know that we would be in the place that we are now.
Exactly.
And so the way I look at that is we were going to have the problems that we faced in our marriage either way. Healing from past relationships, healing from stuff that happened to us, individually, doing all that work. I looked back, we invested collectively about $25,000 in therapy.
Wow. That's a lot.
And coaching.
Yeah.
So without the success of real estate, there's no way that we would have been able to get into that and pay for it. And then on top of that, what would have happened? Well, we would have had to prolong that. And so then we would have been living in this place where either do we break up and go our separate ways, or do we try to work on this without outside help, right? Because the reality is, like, you can talk to your parents, but our parents don't know what's going on in our relationship. And they're going to give us their view based on what they know about us. But an unbiased third party who can like lead you through, that's important. So I would say that like the success that we had in real estate was great because it allowed us to like open up this whole other experience for us. What was it like when we got to a spot where the money was coming in, right? We were making $500,000 a year, and $700,000 a year. And at the highest, it was $1 million a year. What was that like? Because that was very different than the beginning. Yeah. Talk to me about that experience.
It was fun. I don't know. Like we got to do some of the things that we always had on our vision board.
Like what?
Like we got to buy this amazing house that was on our vision board with the builder, that we really wanted. We got married. We had kids.
Paid for the wedding?
Yeah, we took trips.
Hold on. Don't just gloss over this. We paid for the wedding by ourselves. We didn't ask for help. No. At all.
Yeah.
We went on
intentionally.
We went on multiple trips. All right, so like that abundance and that prosperity came on the back end of all the hard shit that we had to go through, created this life that we're living right now. When we were in real estate and that was coming in, like what else was that like for you to know that like we had no money problems?
Financial issues in a relationship can create like a lot of stress. And so it's nice, it was really nice not to have that. I made a decent salary.
What were you, like $200,000 a year? 160.
I was like 150 or something.
160,
yeah. Once we had Luca, it allowed me to not return to work after my maternity leave, which I got a really great maternity leave. I think it was something like 6 or 7 months, and I was getting paid during that time, and then we were on the one income.
Yeah. That year in 2021 was, or is it 2022? We had like 22. Was the biggest year I ever had in real estate. That was the first time that I broke into 7 figures. And that was also the same year that we were very connected to begin with. And then Luca was born and I went right back to work. And that created a lot of tension.
Yes.
But it also allowed you to stay home.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Again, I think
No.
I can't regret the past or wish that it would change. I mean, I wish it was easier, and I wish you would have been like more around.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, you know.
Okay, so how about we try that again and you just tell me how you felt. Was in that moment, I'm just curious, like in that moment when it was going on, knowing that we were making that money, we were financially, basically no financial stress, and you were able to stay home, there's all this tension in the relationship. I know now it worked out the way it did, but in that moment, was it worth it?
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine going back to work and sending Luca to daycare.
This is not a shot at you. This happens in a lot of marriages. You were fucking pissed, rightfully so.
Yeah, I was pissed.
And you would
It was really
would
hard.
verbally say shit to be like, hey, Sergio, you would try to wake me up, right? And I'm over here in this place where I'm scared shitless because now we're down to one income, and it was the first time that all the pressure was on me. And you're over here being like, I need you to do this and this and this. And so like I feel like the world is caving in on me at this point, right? This is how I felt. Mm-hmm. And so I share this with everyone, and the reason I bring this up is because your responsibility as my wife is to make sure that I live up to my potential. You forcing me in that moment to be a good husband, a good father, and produce at the highest level possible. It was like a test. I don't know if it was intentional, but like you put me through a test. And so guys, I'm telling you right now, like if you're trying to build something in your business, your wife is going to push back on you at times. And it's your responsibility to not fight back, but to rise to the occasion. So what was it like to make that full court press on me? And then what did you see happen after?
I wanted a co-parent. I think we fell into very traditional and old sort of like gender norms where you're producing all of the income at a very high level, and I was just at home with Luca at the time and taking care of the house and like trying to keep my sanity at the same time. And so I think that was really hard because that's not what I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I didn't want to be the mom that completely like loses herself and doesn't get any time to herself and then ends up resenting her kids like now and in the future. Like that's just not what I envisioned. And so I wanted a co-parent, and it took us a very long time to get there, like asking to be like, I want to go work out, like I want to feel good, like you're going on mountain bike trips and like working out in the same day, and like can I please just have like an hour to myself, which it sounds ridiculous.
Were you fighting me, or were you fighting for the vision of what you had?
Probably the vision.
Yeah.
And like our happiness.
So,
because like after Luca and like all the challenges that we had, I was like, well, fuck, like this isn't what I like expected. Like what's gonna happen? Are we gonna be able to make this work, or am I just gonna be like this mom that's at home and like he's gonna work, or are we gonna get out of this and find more of a balance? And I feel like we finally have a balance. And of course with kids, like they're always changing, and you know eventually Luca will go to school and so will Enzo, and we'll have to shift like our balance and our time. But still.
But the thing that I want to send home to everybody is like, you and I had a vision for what we wanted our marriage to look like.
Yeah.
And I think we've stopped fighting one another, and we started fighting for what we want.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the guys and the girls that I work with struggle. They get frustrated with their spouse because they feel like their spouse is attacking them. And then when I ask them, what do you want your marriage to look like? And they can't answer it. My response is simply, well, that's why you guys continue to fight about the same dumb shit, because you have no vision for where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so us putting together this forecast or this idea of what we want to look like in the next year, the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, helps us hold each other accountable. So that like when we're in a fight and you shut down, I'm like, that's not okay. And I call you on it. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't just shut down. Like, this is not how this is going to work. We have to work through this.
Right.
And alternatively, when I get like spicy, you say what? What do you say?
We're not having this conversation right now.
Yeah, we're not having this conversation right now, which is great. And I think it gives you the ability to fight for something. So here's what I want to ask, because this is what I'm really actually curious about. Recently, within the last few months, I came to you and I was like, hey, we have to watch our spending. Not like we're in financial distress, but things are tight. What was that conversation like for you when you heard those words come from me to you?
I think it creates like a little bit of anxiety because I watched my parents kind of lose it all after the economy crashed in 2008 and I still see them struggle. And so I don't want to end up in a similar situation for us. And so that brings or creates some anxiety. But then it's also hard, you know, because I'm not bringing in any money as a stay-at-home mom. I can support you.
Yeah.
Which empowers you to go bring in the money for the family. But I don't see what's coming in, so I don't know what the current state is, nor do I honestly want to have like that sort of like visibility and like detail oriented. Like I don't need to micromanage you. Like I trust you to make the best decisions for our family. But I think it was hard too because then I feel like I do a lot of the spending, you know, grocery shopping or making sure that the kids have like diapers and food, and Luca has clothes and so does Enzo, you know, like just all these things. So I can see like all of these costs that we have kind of coming up, and I'm like, okay, well, what about this? Can we do this? And also, what about me? Like, can I go do something for myself, you know? So it's just, it's hard to be the stay-at-home mom that's not bringing in any money, but then yet feel like you're spending all of the money because you're taking care of the family in that sort of sense.
So there's this anxiety piece when you hear about this, when our income is going down, and I tell you that we have to watch our spending. There's also this couple of times when I've come to you and had some breakdowns, shared with you my emotions, my frustrations, unsure if I was going to be able to do this. When you couple this uncertainty that I have about what's going on at time and this anxiety about the money and having to save costs, like, what happens to you in that spot? Like, how do you feel?
I think deep down I'm like, well, shoot, is this gonna work? You know, like, what's gonna happen? And I trust you to make it work. And then I think it's also like, okay, well, if I know we're gonna make it work, what is that timeline gonna look like?
Do you feel scared?
At times, I just get nervous.
When you feel scared and nervous, does it make you feel less secure in the relationship at times?
Probably.
Okay.
But I also trust you
Okay,
to...
that's, two things can be true at the same time. But when you feel scared in the relationship because I'm explaining like my emotions to you and how I feel, and there's uncertainty and now there's potential, you know, we're saving costs. And so you see me doubting myself from time to time, which I was going through a few months ago, not as much anymore. How does that make your attractiveness level to me feel? Does it go up or does it go down when you're in that place?
It probably goes down.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. This is the one thing that I really want to just show is that like women want men to be vulnerable and open about their emotions. And at the same time, there's a massive cost to me sharing at that level and that degree with you because there's a consequence. You feel unsafe in the relationship. You feel insecure in the relationship. There's anxiety. You're less attracted to me. And so there's all these things that go on, which makes complete sense. It's not your fault. I would feel the same way. And so as guys, I think it's interesting. We put ourselves in a place where we want to be open and honest with our wives. And at the same time, the expectation is, hey, you can do all of that. And at the same time, Sergio, you need to go fucking handle it and fix it. I can't do that for you. So it's just this interesting dynamic, and what you will find is that you have to be able to have some type of outlet with other men where you can share your guilt, your shame, your frustrations, your doubts, your insecurities, so that you can put yourself in a position of power and certainty so that your wife doesn't have to feel that. Doesn't mean you can't share with her how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, there are things that need to be filtered in order to protect and maintain the relationship. Because right now, let's just face it, like, you can't hold the space for all of that with everything else that you have going on.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Probably. And because it's not part of like my responsibility.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine the two sets of pressure that are going on in our marriage. The pressure for me to produce and power and certainty, be a good husband, be a good father, a producer, stay in shape, right? Be physically attractive, listen to you, hold the space, be intense, but also be a lover. And then you have everything that you're doing. Be a good mother, be a good wife, stay in shape, be attractive, do stuff around the house, but also maintain your own identity and don't lose yourself. All of these things that are going on for both of us.
Yep.
And yet, sometimes we find ourselves in a place where we're like, we can't even openly communicate about that.
Yeah, those moments are hard.
They're fucking really hard. This is why having a group for yourself that is outside of me is critical.
Yeah.
And this is why me having a group of other dudes that I can go bro out with and talk with about this stuff is important. What have you noticed about me being around other men, specifically with like Garrett and Warrior, that has had an impact on us?
I think you've just grown a lot in this year. You've been more like open with your emotions, and I feel like we've been able to have like deeper conversations about how we're feeling. I think I've seen a lot of growth in you this year since you've started working with Garrett, and I think it's forced me to grow as well. I think we're having like deeper conversations, not just surface level, because we have to stay connected with, especially with you traveling like every other week.
Yeah.
I think that's how we've kind of made this not ideal situation work for us this year. And so it's cool to see you grow in those ways and just like completely own it and own where you go and be fully invested and committed in yourself, the family, being a father, being a husband, but then also like running your business. So I feel like it's been really inspiring to watch, and you've just grown a ton.
And none of this is possible without your commitment to us. Like,
Yeah, it's a true teamwork.
it is teamwork. And fellas, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is when you go down this personal development path, and every coach that I've had has said the exact same thing. When you start personal development work on yourself, if you do not bring your significant other along with you, you're going to create such a massive gap between you that sometimes you can't overcome that gap.
Yeah.
Because you will grow so much, and if they don't grow with you, they won't recognize you. If they don't recognize you, then they don't feel safe and secure, because all of a sudden you feel like a stranger to the relationship, which is why if one person rises, the other person has to go with.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when
Yeah,
things start to fall apart.
for sure.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like our fights, like then our fights, then and now are completely different to what they are
Yeah.
now. I mean, of course, like we always have our bad moments or whatever, because I'm not perfect, and my emotion, you get the brunt of my emotions sometimes, but still,
Half the fights are us just being so
they're
exhausted
so stupid.
that we'll just stop in the middle and stare at each other, and we'll be like, "Hey, do you actually give a shit about this?" And we're both like,
No.
"No." I'm like, "All right, should we just move on?" We're like, "Yeah."
Should we go to bed?
Yeah. It's like you go on a date night and you remember that you don't actually hate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. What advice
Yeah.
would you give to the guys out there who are trying to be better husbands but also run their business? Like, just from what you've seen, like, what's some advice you could give them from your experience?
You can be a good husband and father if you do have kids, and work on your business at the same time. Like, I didn't think it was possible, but there are ways that you can kind of do it all together. It may not be as fast as one would like, but I mean, who's patient anyways? But you can do it.
So listen, Be the Standard is all about transforming you into becoming a $300,000 a year producer or more. But that transformation doesn't just happen in your business. That transformation is about you as the individual. And that transformation that occurs impacts your wife, it impacts your children, it impacts everybody in your life, but it all starts here. So listen, I'm grateful that my wife Lizzy and our son Enzo come on this podcast from time to time. If you're in a spot where you're trying to take your business and your life to a place that you've never been, this is an opportunity for you to either come follow me on Instagram, sergio.nazaro, or go follow my wife at Lizzy Ray, R-A-E, on Instagram. Enjoy the journey. And if there's something that you want to do to make this go further and pursue coaching, one-on-one mentorship, come follow me. You'll figure out how to do it. You can click the link in my bio over there, or you can go to becomethestandard.live and follow the prompts on that site. Anything else you want to leave them with?
That's it.
That's it?
Be the standard.
All right, we got date night tonight. We're going to a concert. We're going to put some noise-canceling headphones on my boy Enzo. But first, we're going to go drink some orange wine. So, till next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
Peace!